Coming to you live from my apartment, it's Rob Has a Podcast, and now here's the guy who's a little incoherent, so just give me a minute, okay? Rob Cesternino, hello everybody, and welcome to our double eviction coverage here live on Thursday night, August 13th, and it was a really unexpected double eviction night in the Big Brother house. A lot of people were expecting it to go one of a couple different ways, and we ended up getting a double eviction that we did not expect, of course, with Jackie being the person to go home in the second part of the double eviction. So we will be talking about all of that, Steve's decisions, what happened, what might have happened, and where we go from here. So plenty of Big Brother to discuss, and don't forget that Shelly is out of the house too, who goes home in the first part of the double eviction. And here to break it all down, we got a great show tonight. Back with us after a week off hanging out in Florida at the Hearts of Reality. Here he is, the winner of Big Brother 14, Ian Terry.
Hey, Rob. How's it going? Good to be back.
Great to have you back, Ian. Doing
good?
It
is. Yeah, I'm feeling really good.
Feeling really good. Feeling really good. Okay.
Sorry I'm late there.
What happened?
Oh, I'm sorry I'm late tonight.
Yeah. You doing okay, Ian?
Yeah, I'm doing fine.
I know you're back to school this week, right?
Yep.
You look like you're dragging a little bit. Is it a long first week back?
Oh, yeah. It's definitely a long first week back. I'm definitely ready for the weekend. That's for sure.
All right. Well, glad to have you here to talk about the double eviction. And here with us, obviously, is every Thursday to talk about everything from the live feeds and provide that perspective. Here is our live feed correspondent, Brett. Welcome on, Brett. How are you?
Rob, what do you want? Yeah, whatever.
Yeah, whatever.
All right. Wasn't that hilarious? Can we just talk about that?
Yeah.
You cannot bury the lead, Rob. Johnny Mac was awesome tonight.
Johnny Mac was rude to Julie in the diary room. I do like that. I like that that's the next level of kissing Julie's butt in the diary room of like, Julie, you look beautiful tonight. Like basically doing the same thing that Will Kirby started like 13 years ago. I like that. I like that being short, throwing shade at Julie in the diary room. I like it, Brent.
Yeah, you could tell that Johnny Mac was not happy with the events tonight that had led up to this eviction.
Yeah, okay. Well, we will talk through all of that. Of course, we're live. I expect a nice live crowd here tonight. We are live on RHAPswebsite.com. We'll be taking your tweets, hashtag RHAP. Scott St. Pierre, our intrepid producer, is actually here in the building tonight. Woo! Scott, how you doing?
Great, Rob. Thanks.
Yeah, Scott's here. He's here. We watched the show. We got some California Chicken Cafe. It was good. Good night so far. Yeah, best way to celebrate a live eviction. So we've got so much going on here tonight. Let me just real quick let you guys know. We did our big last Survivor season's right around the corner, and we did our live show, Ian, back in New York City back last March, and we are bringing the Survivor Know-It-Alls back to New York City for a live event this September. September 30th, Survivor Know-It-Alls Live returns to New York City. Caroline's on Broadway this time, Ian.
All right. Well, I wish I could come. It sounds like a banging good time.
Yeah, should be a good time. You know who lives in New York City?
Meg,
that's right. Who knows? Maybe Meg will be there.
She's not my QT 3.14 this season.
Anyway, so tickets are on sale now if you want to come and check them out. They are going pretty fast, down to only 128 tickets are left remaining. If you want to check that out, go to robhasawebsite.com/KIA Live 3. That's robhasawebsite.com/KIA Live 3. Of course, no exit interviews now that we are headed to the jury phase of the game, because people are going to be, they don't want to pollute the jury. So CBS is going to give us the ability to send in questions, and I have our live feed reporters working together to come up with the best possible questions to ask the people after they get voted out of the house. Brent, are you guys willing to take questions from Twitter from the listeners?
Of course, we'll take any questions, because I tell you, out of everyone going home tonight, this is one I really didn't see coming. I knew that if Steve got HOH, this may happen, but I just sort of forgot about it.
Okay. All right, so if you've got some questions that you think you'd love to hear an answer to, We've got Brent and Alex and Taryn working together on coming up with the best questions to ask these people. And so send them some suggestions on Twitter if you got anything that you think that we may not be thinking of on our own. All right, let's get into this. Ian, this was sort of a wacky set of nominations because I think we all assumed at the point when you saw that competition, you felt like there was a good chance that Steve was going to win it. And then knowing what we know about Steve, we don't know too many things about Steve, but we know that
one big thing.
He hates Becky.
Becky, for whatever reason, right?
For whatever reason that we have no idea why, he hates Becky. Maybe she was mean to him. I guess she said one time that that he's listens to more things than the cameras in the house, and he can't get over that. And you expected that Becky was going to be going up on the block. Instead, we get Meg and Jackie. Why on earth did Steve target these two women?
He didn't target them. It was a backdoor plan gone awry.
It's a backdoor plan derailed?
Yes, exactly.
Now, is this supposition, or this is something that you know for a fact?
I mean, it's supposition, but I mean, I really can't understand any other reasoning here. And on top of that, I mean, I guess Becky's kind of good at competitions, though the thing that puzzles, I mean, Becky's not Frank, right? You know, she's not that good. But
No.
I almost assuredly that's the case.
But if Steve really wants Becky out of the house, isn't it idiotic to do a backdoor in the double eviction?
I mean, a backdoor in the double eviction, I mean, on Becky, I mean, I would just put her up and then, you know, give that the old, you know, try there. I mean, I think that's putting her up directly is fine. That being said, I don't think that doing a backdoor during a double eviction is necessarily a bad plan. I think Big Brother 14, it probably would have been, you know, pretty ideal if I really want to get Frank out to just backdoor him there and not put him up right away.
Okay. So, Brent, do you have any additional information to help us unpack what happened tonight?
Well, I think it's really 2 or 3 reasons. One, if it was a backdoor plan, Steve wanted his hand to be forced. He didn't want to do it willingly. So I think Steve, in an ideal world, would have loved to see James win that veto, take one of those people down, and then he would have been forced to put up Becky. And if you notice there, James was really close to winning that veto. I think that Johnny Mac, I think he didn't want to put Becky up right away because Steve has a very close relationship, if not alliance. Actually, they do have a Final 2 deal with Johnny Mac. And he knows that Johnny Mac is close to Becky. And as a third reason, I think Steve is actually okay with this war between Becky and Vanessa going on. I mean, can you imagine after this double eviction if tonight Becky is crowned the new HOH and we do it all over again next week, her trying to get Vanessa out?
Yeah.
I mean, it could happen, and I think Steve's okay with that.
That's pretty wild. Ian, do we have any sense that Johnny Mac did not go with Steve's plan? Is that what we're feeling at this hour?
Well, I mean, I remember, you know, Steve pulls him in, and, I mean, Steve didn't look particularly happy with John's decision. I mean, maybe he just has a really great poker face, but, I mean, to piggyback on what Wolgamott just said there, I just, you know, I don't think Steve is thinking that many levels ahead. I really don't.
It's really, really interesting because it was such an unusual double eviction. And typically, we see so much scheming, so much strategizing during the double eviction. It seemed like everybody was sort of just sitting on the chairs, like waiting for some instructions on what to do. Did that seem odd to you, Ian?
Seemed really strange, yeah. And I mean, we even heard a little blip of production voice there. Did you catch that one?
What'd they say?
Yeah.
I don't know exactly what they said, but we did hear as they were like walking inside the distinctive voice of Rich Meehan.
And what did it sound like? Something like, "You guys are allowed to strategize. You are allowed to talk to each other."
Well, I think this is, you know, it's their first double eviction. You know,
like an 8th grade dance in there tonight.
Well, no, right. I saw Dan Giesling on Twitter saying, well, you know, why the heck are these people sitting down? Why is no one working right now? But I think they were just nervous that at any moment Julie was going to call them back. And I think Vanessa and the crowd of the Oz twins knew what Steve was going to do. And I think that Becky and Jackie and James thought that Steve was good with them. So I think nobody really thought to say anything to Steve, which is a mistake on their part.
So there was this one exchange that happened during the double eviction after I think that Johnny Mac didn't use the veto, and it was Meg and Jackie sitting on the chairs, and it looks like they were saying to Steve to explain why he did that. And he couldn't talk to them. He said, I'm incoherent right now. I just need a minute. And Meg, very funny, said, yeah, I don't know if we have a minute, Steve. I think we kind of need to talk now. And so was the reason that Steve was so flustered, was that because he didn't want to speak in front of the House as a whole? Or do you sense that it might have been if Johnny Mac blindsided him by not using the veto, is that why he was so flustered, Ian?
I mean, I do think it's the latter. It seems to me that he expected Johnny to use there.
So, Brent, is that what you think?
I don't know. They look to be in agreement in the hammock room. I mean, I heard John say, okay, like it looked like there was some agreement reached there. So, and John said that he couldn't be sure of who the nominee was going to be. So maybe in his heart of hearts, he thought he had a sinking feeling that maybe he'll backdoor Becky because he knows he doesn't like her. By the way, just to explain really quick, I've heard you say this before, why Steve doesn't like Becky. Becky's been kind of shitty to him. She just has. She continually talks about him as, this is the here and now. She makes fun of him for giving out trivia of past BB seasons, and she's talking about, Steve, this is Big Brother 17, that we're not playing Big Brother 14 because he always talks about Big Brother 14, and just
Big Brother 14 was awesome.
Yeah, it was awesome.
It was pretty good.
Becky's like, it's the here and now. Stop. You're here to play the game. You're not here to be a trivia wizard. And I think he sort of is insulted by that. She sort of is condescending to him, and I think that's why they don't get along. I will also say quickly about this. I heard Steve on the live feeds today talking to Johnny Mac, trying to get him, if he won HOH, to put up one of the goblins, which is what Steve did. And I was sort of quizzical about it, but I talked to Alex Kidwell, and ultimately it comes down to two things. One, Steve's trying to get as little blood on his hands as possible. Earlier tonight he was even talking about throwing the HOH competition potentially. And two, the people he put on the block are the people who are least likely to A, win a competition going forward, and B, people he's least closest to in the House. I mean, of the people who are in the House, they are the people who have been the least nice to him. So why shouldn't he put them up?
Well, if that's your philosophy, why go after HOH in the first place, Brent?
I don't understand that. I think the Big Brother contestant in him just gets the better of him because he said the same thing during the veto. I'm going to throw it. Then he goes out there and wins it in 13 minutes. This time, all week long, he's saying, I'm going to throw it. I can't believe I'm going to throw it tomorrow night. Here it comes, and he smokes everybody. So I think he just can't bring himself to throw it. I think he wants to throw it. I think he knows he probably should throw it, but he just can't bring himself to do it. And I understand that. It's hard.
Johnny Mac and Austin were the people that came close to winning this HOH challenge tonight. If Johnny Mac was the HOH, Brent, did you have a sense of what he was going to do?
Yes, I think he would have nominated Vanessa and possibly even Austin as well. He was going to break them up. And I cannot understand for the life of me. Here we are. What is this now? Like the final 9, and still no one has gone after Austin and the twins, who are an unbreakable threesome for the most part. It's just boggling to me.
Yeah. So let's go to talking about now the impact of Jackie being gone, Ian. Are the goblins now, Meg and James, are they crippled? Are they just basically just on the side of the road and there's nothing they can do moving forward?
I mean, they really lost like the backbone of their alliance there. I mean, she was the one that was going to win all the comps for them, right?
I don't know.
Hold on. People on the audio version can't see you smiling that you're joking.
Brent, what did you have to say?
Well, who is going to win the competitions, Meg?
I think Meg is capable of winning a questions competition. I think James is capable of winning any endurance competition or anything kind of physical. I mean, he almost won that veto tonight. Which is sort of funny because usually the second HOH competition of the night is usually some like balance a ball on a track kind of thingy, and they use that for the veto tonight. So I have no idea what they're going to do for HOH tonight.
So I'm just trying to connect the dots here because I feel like this still doesn't make a lot of sense to me exactly why Steve ended up doing this. So Steve has been presented to us all season long as being in the pocket of Vanessa. Vanessa was saved by the people who were on the goblin side of the house. It seems like Steve would be doing what Vanessa would want and not be targeting the goblins unless Vanessa just sold them a bill of goods this week and really was going to be going after them, but especially considering how much Steve hated Becky, considering how much Vanessa seems to want Becky out of the house, it doesn't make sense to me why he went after people from the Goblins, Ian.
My head hurts too, and I think the thing that I love the most about these double eviction episodes is that it's kind of like we just get that flash forward of what happened now, and then in the next episode we just get kind of that full explanation, and that's something that I'm really looking forward to because I'm still trying to make sense of it all.
Brett, can you help illuminate us on this at all?
I think, well, first of all, if Vanessa had won HOH, Becky's going up 100%, unless she thought that she didn't have the votes to evict her, which Vanessa thought she did. There has been a little bit of a schism between Vanessa and Steve lately. Steve got a little too honest with Vanessa and told her that he was working with Shelley and Johnny Mac, and he wasn't going to, you saw that on tonight's show, that he wasn't going to give her her vote unless she had the numbers, and then if she could get 4 votes, he was going to provide a 5th. That's what he basically told her. If you can get the votes, I'll vote with you. So she was really ticked off about that. She wanted undying loyalty from Steve, which I think is a bit too much to expect. And she does not fully trust him at this point. And Steve knows that Vanessa lied to him about the 8-person deal. So there is not the same level of trust between Vanessa and Steve that there was, say, a week ago or even, say, 5 days ago. And I think that Steve's playing his own game. And for those people criticizing Steve that he's not like Evil Dick, who's been out there saying that Steve is just a houseplant, basically, he's there to play the game, and he's playing it the best way he knows how.
Now, how about the decision to keep Vanessa in the house and vote out Shelley? First off, Ian, before we get to the ramifications from tonight for that, did you feel like the people in the house, specifically the Goblins, did they make the wrong decision to keep Vanessa?
I mean, that's the thing is I do think Vanessa's definitely the most capable player in the game, and I also feel like she's probably the most capable female player in the entire Grodner era. I mean, I honestly can't think of any female player that's better than her at this game.
What's the Grodner era? Post Big Brother 8?
Big Brother 8 and onward, so it includes Big Brother 8. And that's first timers, right? So no one on their second time. But
you're including Joey?
Yes, including Joey, Rob.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, I definitely think that Vanessa's one of the stronger players that we've ever seen, and it probably would have been good for most people to have seen her go this week.
Okay. So, Brent, should we assume that Steve is officially now no longer in the pocket of Vanessa, but either on his own or in the pocket of Johnny Mac? Or is he a free agent now after Johnny Mac may or may not have done what he wanted to?
I don't think he's fully in the pocket of Vanessa or Johnny Mac. I think he is trying to work with both sides equally. I think that like I said, he didn't have real relationships with the Goblins, and so they were easy people for him to put up. And like I said, he wanted his hand forced in order to backdoor Becky. I think he didn't want to lose Johnny Mac's loyalty. So, yeah.
Okay, so Ian, if it was Shelley that stayed in the house, do you think anything would have been different in terms of the second part of the double eviction?
I mean, it doesn't seem like Vanessa played a particularly active role in that, did she? I mean, I really don't see it changing too much.
Okay.
Yeah, I agree. I think things worked out exactly the same way, unless Shelley beat Steve in that HOH competition, which I don't think she was going to do. Steve just knew what was going on. He knew the answers to those questions, and tonight was going to end up with Jackie going home no matter what. So I want to say really quickly, Rob, I saw your show with Eric Stein last night and Alex, and
it's a good show, right?
Yeah, it was a great show.
Eric Stein killed it.
Love Eric Stein. Love him. That being said,
love the Stein.
One of these few times that I actually do disagree with him, I felt like the Goblins made the correct decision, or at least not a terrible decision this week, because you have someone in front of you, Vanessa, who was not coming after you. Yes, she is a better player than Shelley, but she's not really great at physical competitions, and they think they can just get her out whenever. And you have somebody in Shelley who is great at HOH questions competitions. She's shown that in the past, and she could have won. And if she won, they definitely would have been up on the block. So I And plus, going forward, this gave the Goblins plus the Oz twins a potential to work together. And Austin is open to that. He was open to going to the final 6 with the 3 of them because he knows he can beat them. He's not really loving Vanessa right now. There's a little bit of a friction there.
So is there hope for James and Meg moving forward to reunite with Austin and the twins, Ian?
It seems like it, right? I mean, that's what I'd take. And I haven't seen the feeds today or yesterday or really lately, but I mean, that's how I've interpreted it through, various readings on Twitter and things like that.
So if that's the case, though, wouldn't this be a bad move for Steve to make himself such an enemy of James and Meg, considering if they still have allies in Austin and the twins? Doesn't that make him in a bad spot to sort of bunker down with Johnny Mac and Becky at that point? I mean, who else is with them? Vanessa? I mean, Vanessa's not on the same side as Becky, so really it seems like almost maybe Vanessa could be more in the middle?
Yeah, I'd say Vanessa is kind of in the middle at this point. I think that Meg and James need to get with Becky and Johnny Mac. They need to get together. They need to make a foursome alliance. It's us to the final 4. Let's do it. You two like yourselves. We like each other. Let's do it and move forward that way. Because it's clear that Austin and the twins are a big obstacle. There's 3 people you have to get out. You cannot let one of those 3 people get to the end, or that's 2 guaranteed votes. I just can't see that happening.
Ian, do you feel like that Steve walked away from this in a good position?
I mean, for messing it up pretty badly, at least from what I can tell, I don't think he's in really too terrible of a spot. I mean,
what should he have done?
I mean, well, that's his thing. If he's trying to get Becky out, then I mean, I'd just put her up right away. I mean, they're not wearing athletic gear, and I think that Becky's probably only going to be good at athletic games. So if you want to get her out, just put her up. But that being said, if it comes to light on Sunday that wasn't what he wanted to do, then I'm still trying to make sense of it all.
I think he's still. Oh, sorry, Rob. I didn't mean to interrupt you. I think he's still sort of trying to float in the middle a little bit. I think he's still okay with this war between Vanessa and Becky continuing on. I think the people he's pissed off are the people who are probably least likely to win HOH, except for maybe James. Although, as we saw tonight, anybody can win an HOH at any given moment. So I still don't. I'd like to know what he's thinking, because he said he was going to throw it and then he killed it. So if he wanted to throw it, it was there for him, and he wanted to win it. So he obviously wanted this to happen.
Now, how big of a shock was it to see Jackie be the one to end up going home? Because I remember I read earlier today, I was reading up online about this, and the only people that it was even possible that were going to go out, according to what I was reading, were Johnny Mac, Becky, or Vanessa. Those were the only 3 names that were even possibilities to go home. The double eviction, Brent.
No, whoever wrote that was. I'd like to have what they're having.
I'm not going to say where I read that.
Right, okay. Well, no, it was. First of all, Austin could have gone home. If Vanessa and Austin are on the block, Vanessa wins the veto or somehow gets vetoed by somebody else, I think Austin goes home. Steve was talking to Johnny Mac earlier, like I said. I don't want to repeat myself. He was talking to Johnny Mac, about putting up 2 of the Goblins. And, I knew that Jackie was a potential to go home. I thought that James would probably be the one to go home, but James has a better relationship with Steve than Jackie does. So, it sort of makes sense in hindsight.
Okay. Ian, was it a shock to you that Jackie is the person that goes home?
I mean, it's sort of random, right? I guess it's a shock in the sense, like, of all people that are sitting outside with Julie Chen, like, we have Jackie of all people. I mean, it just it seems like, it really could have been just anyone else besides her, and it would have been taking somebody bigger out of the game.
Yeah. Really is pretty wild. Let's sort of eulogize Jackie, at least Jackie 1.0 in the game, because she is now one of the people that could potentially come back into the game. If it does come down to a competition, she is somebody who seems like they could be a force to be reckoned with in an endurance competition. But I do think, and Julie gave her props tonight, she did turn her game around at the point that Jeff left the game, Ian.
Yeah, I mean, I think early on, I think we kind of, and myself included, but I think the viewers as a whole, as well as even the show with Julie Chen saying Jackie was treating it like a pit stop, I said that, like, we kind of criticized her, I would say almost unduly. And my reasoning there is, I mean, the first week she was nominated, and in order to survive, literally all she had to do was keep her mouth shut. I mean, that was it. So with Jeff in there and Jeff, making a pretty big target of herself, I think that lying back for those first few weeks was just a fine move. After that, she did pick it up to, varying success. Things went wrong, obviously, in week 5 where she was supposed to retain that HOH. But, she certainly wasn't bad. She just wasn't actively good.
Yeah. For Jackie, it really is a turnaround story for the ages because, for somebody who didn't come back and win the game or even, win HOH or anything like that. She did win half of an HOH, which ultimately got taken over by Vanessa.
Mm-hmm.
She went from somebody who Julie Chen said it was a pit stop, Brittany Haynes says is she even on the show, to currently, on day 59, Ian, the number 2 person on the Joker's Updates poll.
Yep. Well, it's popularity, so of course she's going to be up there. It's James.
Well, Ian, what's the problem with that?
Is she really that entertaining that we want to, put her at number 2? Is her gameplay so riveting that she deserves the number 2 spot?
Did you see when she wore the night costume?
Yeah, I did, and I enjoyed the striptease very much, Rob. But
not as much as James.
That's debatable.
One person on the Joker's Updates poll.
I don't know. I don't really see what she does aside from be inoffensive. Like, I don't find her super entertaining. I'll say that.
Okay. I thought she had spunk. I thought she was a person that at least was had a little bit of gusto.
Yeah, exactly. She was somebody who was she eventually. I read on Huffington Post today, Boogie talking about this. Know your role, and I feel like she figured out her role by week 4. Like she's the saucy, feisty kind of lady in the house who's going to give them what for, but she kind of didn't figure that out until it was almost too late.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So she'll be interesting to see if she ends up coming back. I could see her also being a ideal returnee coming back into the house because the returnee probably comes back to the house and has no chance anyway. But I could see her coming back into the house really shot out of a cannon and really creating a lot of fireworks upon a return to the house, Ian.
Yeah. It could be interesting, I guess.
Could be interesting, I guess, Ian.
Yeah, I'll say that.
Go ahead, Ian.
I always feel like if somebody gets voted out and comes back, I really want to reserve it for, a really big player. Like if Vanessa were to somehow go in like a shock boot, yeah, I won't. Well, see, then again, if Vanessa goes there, I want Vanessa to win because she's really good. I don't want Vanessa to win because she goes and then goes. So I guess, I'm kind of conflicted here.
Okay. All right, so then now we are going to have the stage set for another HOH. Brent, do you have any sense over who the next target in the house could potentially be?
I know that Austin and the Twins have been wanting to go after Johnny Mac. Austin is fine with this war. I know I sound like I'm repeating myself, but everybody in the house is thinking this. They're fine with the war between Vanessa and Becky continuing. So I think that Johnny Mac has a potential to go up if Austin or the Twins get power. Based on the events of tonight, obviously, if James or Meg get HOH, I think Steve is not long for this world. But they may decide that Vanessa is a bigger target, bigger fish to fry. Vanessa has made inroads this week after being blindsided earlier in the week. I would have never said that Vanessa had a chance on Monday after the way she behaved in the have-not room to James, Jackie, and Meg. She was just histrionic and sort of rude and indignant in a way that is unbecoming. But she's turned it around, and I like where she's sitting right now if Becky doesn't win HOH again.
Yeah. Now, Ian, where does Vanessa go from here? Can she pick up the pieces in your mind?
I think she's in it with the shot, right? I really, if she's truly playing the middle like we believe, I really don't see her as someone who's going to be, I don't think she's going to have too much of a problem. I think she's a good player. She's quite good at picking up the pieces.
Who is Vanessa's closest ally in the house?
Liz and Julia.
Twins.
Right.
Yeah, especially Julia.
Austin,
especially
right?
Julia.
But if Austin is having his
to choose there, yeah.
Who will the Twins choose? Austin. Or?
I don't know about that. I think this is, Rob, you were talking about earlier in the season about the Twins having a disagreement, and voting two different ways, or at least being in a really sharp disagreement. And I think that could be rearing its head because Julia does not like Austin. She doesn't trust him. She thinks that he's not working in the group's interest, and Liz does. And Julia trusts Vanessa more, and Austin does not trust Vanessa as much as he used to. So I think that they might have a bit of a disagreement moving forward about who they want to work with. I think Vanessa wins, though.
This season has it all. Could we have a fight between the twins, in your opinion?
I don't know if it'd be a fight, but...
I'm sure, yeah, I don't think we're going to see a fight. I don't think we're going to see like a Sierra.
Could Liz or Julia win HOH and put the other twin up for nomination?
I don't see a Sierra Easton type of moment ever happening here.
Yeah,
But,
where's your Johnny Mac no?
Yeah. But, no!
There we go.
I mean, a disagreement, sure.
A disagreement on who to work with. Yeah, I think Julia's in it with Vanessa for the long term, and I think Vanessa feels that. I think she knows that she's in it. Vanessa's really powerful right now. She has a lot of allies. I mean, Steve's not fully with her, but he's enough with her that he could be useful to her. And Austin and Liz and Julia are with Vanessa, so they're useful to her. But all that being said, if Becky wins HOH or somebody who wants to target Vanessa wins HOH this week, they still have the votes to get her out because there's going to be 6 people voting, and it'll be just like last week. It could be 3-3, and the HOH could break the tie. So they still have the votes to get her out this week.
Okay, let me ask Scott because he's here. Scott, how are the questions looking tonight?
Looking great.
Looking great. You ready for questions?
I am.
Do we have good ones tonight?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. Let's bring them in. Okay, here we go. Question number 1 is from Logan Rex, who says, why do we see more of James scaring people than showed us the entire house flipped? Yeah, this was a tough week to produce the Thursday night show, Brent, because, right, this was a very eventful week on the feeds, and we got maybe a fraction of what ultimately happened. What was the biggest part of what we didn't see tonight in the lead-up to Vanessa staying?
I think that the deals that Vanessa made with the Goblins and also Shelley's ineffective campaigning, I wish that would have been shown because it would have made sense to the viewers why she ended up going home and why the Goblins decided to vote Shelley out. She was terrible. She really was. Alex hit the nail on the head last night. Aside from her telling James, you're lucky I came into this room to campaign for you, which was just bitchy on its face. She had no sincerity when talking to them, and she couldn't like Jackie, which you were talking about her eulogy. Neither one of Jackie or Shelley, I feel like, could fake it enough to give you a smile and try to make you believe that you're with them. They just couldn't bring themselves to do it, and you need to be able to do that in Big Brother.
Ian, in terms of Vanessa staying, do you feel like the show did an effective job of showing the viewers who only watch the TV show just how dead and buried Vanessa was this week?
Absolutely not. I mean, that's the thing is, it feels like we're missing like giant chunks of the story. I mean,
right.
From the little feed that I had seen, like whenever she was put up, there was mass jubilee on Twitter about how, Vanessa's going home and she's really going to get what's coming to her. And I mean, I even received texts from people that watch the show on a very casual basis today. It's like, oh yeah, Vanessa's going to be going home tonight. I'm really excited about it. And I'm sitting there and I'm like, I don't really know.
This is one of those rare times where I think that somebody who said, I'm just going to sit back and be quiet and do my thing, I think that was the time not to do that for Shelley, because that's essentially what she did. And while she was sitting back in her bed, Vanessa was going around making deals with people and making sure that they knew that Shelley was going to put up James and one of the Goblins if she won HOH, which was true. So Shelley needed to lay some groundwork and preemptively go to them and tell them, look, that's all in the past. I'm a single player now. I've lost my alliance. I need some people to work with. She couldn't just say that. And by the time she did try to say that, it looked false on its face. It looked way too late. And it was obvious to them why she had come to them, because Becky had told her, hey, you need to go talk to the Goblins because they want to vote out you.
Okay. Let's go to another question. It's from Michael Pierce, who said, why did Jackie just sit in the chair right after John won the veto instead of trying to make a deal? Ian, can you speak at all to any theory why she might do that?
Yeah, I mean, there's quite
What
a
is
lot
the
of
Occam's
weirdness.
razor of that?
And there's quite a lot of weirdness tonight, isn't there? Where not only did we see that, but we also saw like Steve win HOH, and then everyone just kind of sits down. No one was going around doing work. I'm not sure if this cast is just asleep at the wheel or what's going on. But I mean, it was very interesting, and I cannot wait to see the Sunday episode.
Okay. Brent, do you have any theories?
I think they were all just a little bit shocked at the win. I mean, I remember them talking on the feeds about like, what if Steve won? Oh, well, that would be interesting. Like, and they all thought they were okay with Steve. Not one person, maybe besides Becky, who actually I even think Becky thought she was okay with Steve. So he's done. One good thing about Steve is he's done an effective job at making sure that people think that he likes them, and that's important.
Ian, let's do your weekly check-in with Steve because, people are always making the comparison of Steve. He's the Ian this season. How do you think he's doing? Do you see him being on a course where he could potentially have that win in him this season?
Yeah, I mean, my feelings on this seem to change by the day. Like, one day I'll be like, hey, he's in a pretty good spot. I think he's got a nice position carved out for himself. And the next thing I know, it's kind of just yanked out from under him, and he's, kind of like haplessly, running around without knowing what's going on. That being said, I mean, there's, 8 people left? 9 people left?
Nine people left.
9 people left in the game. I mean, guys, he's at my what I call like the win out point. So, I mean, if he can just clean it up, turn it on, I think he'll be fine. The only problem is that I think I've read many places that if he gets to the final 2, I heard he's going to have a hard time. But that being said, he has a lot of time to turn that around.
Right. I think he might have a hard time right now, but after this veto win and this HOH win and making some moves. My thing with Steve is he's got to choose a side, and I think he needs to choose the side that Oz twins are not on because they will drop him in a heartbeat. And he's inherently more loyal to them, so that's going to be a problem moving forward.
Okay.
Yeah, and okay. But that being said, I mean, I'm still so confused over what has happened tonight that it's just, I mean, people are messaging me on Twitter like, oh, Steve sucks. Ugh. I mean, what is this? Like, he doesn't hold a candle to you? Like, I mean, I'd say I misplayed the double eviction HOH, just as bad, if not worse, than he did. So, I mean, he has flaws, I have flaws. I think it's still a pretty decent comparison when it comes down to it.
Okay, just staying with Steve for a minute. So if it does come to pass that it did turn out that Steve wanted Johnny Mac to use the veto and then take down either Meg or Jackie so that Becky could be put up and be backdoored, where do you suppose the relationship between Johnny Mac and Steve is from here? Are they enemies? Is it a misunderstanding like Jackie had? Ian, do you think that they end up being enemies if that's the case?
Well, I mean, sorry, could you reformulate that? If I'm understanding right, if Becky knows that...
No, Steve, just keep it to Steve and Johnny Mac. If Johnny Mac was supposed to use the veto so that Steve could backdoor Becky, where does Steve and Johnny Mac stand?
It's obviously not good. I mean, they're going to have a hard time getting along together if that was indeed the case. But, I mean, honestly, I'm ready to talk about feeds because, we're already starting to be able to put a little bit of the pieces of the puzzle together.
All right, we're going to talk about the live feeds. Go ahead, and again, this is probably something that you're going to see in the Sunday night show, but stuff that's happening right now. I'm going to start the spoilers. Scott, you ready?
All set.
All right, here we go.
The Office of Civil Defense has issued the following message. This is
a spoiler.
Warning.
A spoiler.
Warning means that an actual
spoiler
against this country has been detected and that protective action should be taken.
All right. Ian, all right, what do you have to talk about?
Well, it says here on a tweet from Big Brother Network, John asked Steve if it was okay to let people know that Steve asked him not to use the veto.
Okay, so then...
There we go.
So, Steve, is that official?
I mean...
Or is Johnny Mac just saying, should I just tell people you didn't want me to use veto?
I'm seeing here from multiple sources, Steve asked Johnny Mac to not use it.
Okay.
Like Rob, I just think this way, Steve is scared he's scared, and
Then why be the HOH?
Well, I can't explain that, but it's safety for him. He knows he's safe through the double eviction. He doesn't want to go home like Judd, and he won it, and he had to put 2 people on the block, and these are the 2 most inoffensive people he could put on the block. He didn't want Johnny Mac to use the veto because then he'd have to make another nomination, make another enemy, and I think that that explains it. He put the 2 people on the block he was not threatened by and who were the least nice to him. It's not more complicated than that.
Yeah, that's what I'm reading here, too, is that he just put up the people that weren't nice to him.
But isn't Becky the person who's least nice to him? Why is he going off about Becky?
Like I said, he wants to keep Johnny Mac, and Johnny Mac is close to Becky, and I think he values the friendship and the loyalty and the alliance with Johnny Mac. And Becky, and again, he's fine with the war between the 2 of Vanessa and Becky continuing, so I don't think he really wanted to go after Becky this week.
Yeah. Also, Taryn is saying in the chat room that he didn't want to be HOH. How do you get in if that's the case?
I don't know.
If you were trying to throw how do you get 7 questions into the comp and you're trying to throw the HOH?
No way.
Well, I mean, see, in a game like that, just personal experience, what it comes down to is I would not, I don't want to win the double eviction HOH. However, there are people that I also don't want to win it, and I'm not going to get out of that game until the people that I know that I don't want to win it are still in. So Steve was probably hanging along in the game long enough such that those people were gone, and then he just probably accidentally answered a question right at the end or something like that.
Maybe, I don't know, but I'm trying to remember what happened once they were down to 3 and it was Austin, J-Mac, and Steve, who I don't think Steve has anything to fear from. I don't know, because there's boards between you. I don't know if he realized at that point who was still in and who was out.
Well, that was my issue.
On a live show.
That was my issue. I mean, I failed to keep track correctly.
Yeah, she announces who's out. She doesn't announce usually who's still in.
Who's still in, right?
Unless it's down to 2, and then she goes, between Ian and Rob, one of you is about to become the new head of household. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Let's take some more questions. Nick2S says, is it safe to say that the Ostwin Alliance is easily the biggest winners out of everyone, not even a nomination amongst them, and there's plenty of drama spread around the house? Brent, do you feel like the Ostwins are the best situated alliance in the house?
Ironically, yes, and it amazes me. I wanted to say this. I made a point of writing this down for tonight. I really want to. I kind of dogged Austin's game earlier, but he has really done well. He's put in a lot of footwork with the Goblins. They trust him. So now that Steve has betrayed them, they're going to run to him and say, let's work together. Or maybe they run to Johnny Mac and Becky. Or I don't know what they do, but I don't think they're necessarily going to go after Austin right now. And Steve all of a sudden became a much bigger target. Vanessa's still a target. I think James is somebody who is easy to put up. I don't know when somebody's. Ostwins final 3. Anybody? I don't know. They're looking good.
I told you before the season that there was going to be a twist this season, that there were going to be identical twins, and if the twin made it to week 5, the other identical twin was going to come into the house, and nobody would care.
It's weird. It's so weird.
It's pretty strange, isn't it?
Nobody seems to mind.
I saw what happened in Big Brother 5. What happened in Big Brother 5, the twins were fine in Big Brother 5 until they betrayed their own alliance and put Will up.
Completely inexplicably, too. Because he saw it in a dream or something?
Yeah, it was like some Bible-induced thing to get the gay guy out. Whatever. It doesn't matter. So the point being this time that they haven't had any power. They haven't done anything to offend anybody. So, and that's really what happened, by the way, back in Big Brother 5 with Adria. I just want to say it. Okay, anyway. But
Becky says this is Big Brother 17, Brent.
Yeah, right? I know, right?
Stop living in the past, Brent.
Yeah.
Living in the past.
Here now.
All right. Let's go to another question. This is from Lance Davis. Did Johnny Mac reveal himself to be a major game threat to the rest of the house going forward because of his showing during tonight's competitions?
Well, I think that Johnny Mac has had pretty good showings in a lot of competitions, yet the fact still remains that, he barely has gotten any target on himself from winning comps before. I don't think it happens tonight either. If he gets a target on him, it comes for different other reasons, but not that.
Yeah, I think
you could see the block this coming week if somebody from the Ostwins or Vanessa win head of household, because they might want to put up Becky and they might want to put up Johnny Mac beside her to make sure he doesn't use the veto on her. So, and he's on their radar. He's been getting called to the diary room a lot, which I don't really think he has been getting called so much more than everybody else. But Austin and the Twins are onto it. It's especially Austin, and he's sort of annoyed about it. I think he's sort of jealous about it. And at the end of the day, people like Johnny Mac. He's popular, and that's why the diary room keeps calling him back. It's not that complicated.
Okay. Let's keep going. This is from Ruth Jean 57, who says, "What did you think of Steve's POV comp malfunction? I just rewatched that part. His thing wouldn't tilt one way. Uh-oh. Is this controversy, Ian? You heard him say during the, he's like, my thing is stuck. My thing is stuck. It's not working."
Well, I mean,
he was like,
well, let's remember that we're no stranger to these sorts of weird events happening during double eviction veto comp. If you think back to Big Brother 8, an errant blue ball bounced off the ground and then just into Jamaica's tube. Do you remember that?
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. Which did happen, and she was disqualified, wrongly, but that's how it is. And from personal experience, I know that, like, whenever we got the official read of the rules, like the shark fin, we were told, like, you break your shark fin, it's done, you're disqualified. So probably a similar warning, like, hey guys, don't get too forceful with those weird balance things. If you break it, tough luck.
Yeah, why would they not want Steve to have the veto? It doesn't make any sense why there would be a conspiracy.
Yeah, I don't think there's any conspiracy. You break it, that's it.
That's
Game
it.
done.
Okay. Let's take another question. This one is from Zachary Zarneckline. How does it change the game with the house guests knowing that an evictee will return? Ian, you didn't have a returnee come back into the house. Do you see it changing anything for these house guests?
I mean, I think there is sort of something that you have to remember whenever you're saying, well, you know, one of these people is going to come back in, right? So you do have to factor in a little bit, but at the same time, you also have to think 3 of the 4 aren't coming back in. And I really think you got to play just to get people out of the house.
Brent, to me, I think it changes that the people who are leaving the house, they seem to not have an urgency about them. We saw Shelley tonight. She had an opportunity to give her speech. She wished Jason a happy birthday. She said hello to Clay. Then she was just sort of like, I love all you guys. You guys are great. And she's like, it doesn't even matter. It seemed to me like the fact somebody's coming back into the house is making these players care less about being evicted. Is that a fair read?
I would defend Shelley a little bit. She did care about being evicted. She did not want to be evicted, but she knew the way the votes were going to go. Meg had told her it was a done deal. She couldn't do anything to stop it, and I think she knew she did a really, really terrible job campaigning. So I think she was like, well, I'm going out, so I'll look forward to the next phase of my Big Brother life, which is going to be apparently, which I said on Twitter and I was poo-pooed for it, that, you know, Julie keeps saying that, you know, just because you're out of the game or just because you're evicted doesn't mean you're out of the game. And I'm like, well, that doesn't necessarily mean you're coming back. You just might have some influence on the game. I mean, I know she said that last year, but I thought maybe she's purposely saying that this year to make them think that they're coming back, and then it's not really what it is.
I don't know. I think that
why would they do that?
Well, you know, I'm thinking on some level.
Especially to the people that are outside of the house evicted, like, why would they be saying that to them?
Like I said, I was poo-pooed for it on Twitter, so whatever.
All right.
Okay.
Sorry.
Let's take some more questions. This is from Cameron, who says, can I get some clarification from Brent about the Austin and Steve alliance, and is it substantial?
The Austin and Steve, well, I mean, you know, first of all, they've always had a good working relationship, and I never saw Steve ever putting up Austin. I do think that it's going to work moving forward for at least a few weeks, but, you know, Austin's loyalties at the end of the day are to the 2 twins, or at least to Liz in general, and by proxy, her sister. So I don't know that it will hold, but it's something that will work for now, and it can at least keep Steve safe for another 2 weeks.
Okay. Let's go about this question from R. Philly. How come no one is acknowledging that Steve has been in a Freaks and Geeks alliance with Oz Twins and Vanessa for the last month?
Exactly. Yeah.
How come you haven't told us that, Brent?
Well, I mean,
Why are we just hearing about this now?
Because the Freaks and Geeks is fake. That's the reason why. Freaks and Geeks, it's the Sixth Sense with Steve as an add-on. He was always the 7th person in the pecking order. He didn't know it.
That sounds like the Quack Pack.
No. Well, the Quack Pack was a deal. I mean, right? They were all 5 together, right? I don't know. I forget. I forget.
When it was convenient, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. When it was convenient, exactly. No, for real. The Freaks and Geeks is just it's Austin and the twins, Vanessa and Steve. That's Freaks and Geeks. So it doesn't include Shelly and Clay when they were in the house, just so everybody doesn't yell at me on Twitter about being wrong on the show. But I'm just pointing out that it's basically the Sixth Sense plus Steve. It's just a side alliance that Vanessa and Austin had with Steve. And Steve is sort of like Ian with the Renegades. Like, he thinks it's a really big deal. Like, he talks about it a lot, and he was mad when Vanessa accidentally exposed it to somebody, but it's not really that big of a deal. It's only a big deal when Austin and the twins and Vanessa need something from Steve, in which case then it's a big deal.
But Ian, aren't most alliances on reality TV fake alliances until they're a marriage of convenience for the people that are in them?
I mean, this is true, right? I mean, I always say there's no such thing as a final 2 deal.
Yeah, it's like, okay, let me make you make 10 alliances, 9 of them are fake alliances.
Yeah.
So,
it tends to be how it works out, yeah.
I mean, all these things are just options until, it's time to vote, and then it's a real alliance. So you could make something that's like, okay, well, this isn't really real, and then it's like, oh, this actually makes a lot of sense. We should go with this. It happens.
Plus, the other thing, the show hasn't addressed it because Steve hasn't been in power. He's basically had no influence on the game up until now. So why are they going to bring up this? It's the only alliance where Steve is a part of it, and the other people in the Sixth Sense, like Vanessa, Austin, and the twins, are not. So why were they going to bring it up?
All right. How are we doing on questions, Scott?
A
few more. Okay. Let's take this one. This is from Miranda H96. On the feeds, Meg and Jackie and James were so 100% sure that Steve was on their side for some strange reason. Will Steve, having put them up, finally wake them up, or will Meg continue to have no clue about the game around her? P.S. Brent, I love your hat. Okay.
Oh, thank you. Yes,
Brent,
for those of you listening to the audio feed, I am wearing the kitty hat that James had. I found it on Comfy Critters on Amazon. It's fabulous.
Okay. There you go. So, Brent, is it possible that Meg and James could think that Steve is somehow working with them?
No, not after tonight. I mean, I saw them talking about it in the feeds just a second ago, and Steve was Steve was talking about, or James was talking about, well, maybe we could get with Johnny Mac and Steve, and Meg's like, Steve just put us up. So obviously there's some tension there. I think that they thought that Steve was with him. James plays a lot of chess with Steve. He's had a friendly relationship. I think that's why you didn't see James on the block tonight, and so I think you saw the 2 girls because Steve has a better working relationship with James, although after tonight I don't know how that relationship is.
Okay. Let's take a question. This is from Travis Madness. Can you explain what Jackie meant by saying that Steve thought she was going to backdoor him even though she was going to actually backdoor Austin? Okay. Brent, let me go to you for this. She talked about a miscommunication. I thought that Julie Chen did a very good job of asking what did she mean by miscommunication. Do you know what she's talking about? Can you decipher Jackie?
I think that Steve sold her a bill of goods and she's apparently buying it because I don't think that's really what... I don't think Steve misunderstood anything. I don't think Steve thought that Jackie was going to put him up. I mean, Steve was talking about throwing the competition earlier today, even though he didn't. I think that Steve just told Jackie that in order to, knowing that it isn't true, so that when Jackie says, "Oh well, no, that's not true," he could say, "Oh, well, it was a miscommunication. I'm so sorry. Oh, I'm so sorry." I mean, it was total BS. He's telling her a bill of goods.
Ian, is that how you saw it?
Yeah, of course.
Okay.
He just doesn't want her to be mad, especially if she could come back.
All right. Let's do 2 more questions. What do you think, Scott?
Sounds good.
Well, who benefits the most from Jackie leaving? That's from Jake Stewart. Ian, who is the biggest beneficiary of Jackie leaving the house?
Does anyone really benefit from this? I mean, I just think it doesn't harm too many people aside from like Meg and James.
I feel like I think that we benefit from this, and I like Jackie. You guys that listen to the podcast know I've been a Jackie supporter these last few weeks. I like her on the show, but I feel like of the people that we remove, the key to any season of reality TV are making sure the biggest personalities stay in the game week after week. because otherwise then the show starts to get boring. And I think that we had some excitement tonight, but we didn't lose somebody that was a major contributor to what we're enjoying about the show. I like Jackie, but she's not bringing so much entertainment to the show week after week. Brent, is that fair or unfair?
I think it's fair. Actually, I agree with you, and I love Jackie too. I really love watching her on the feeds. To answer your question, I actually think that Vanessa is probably the one who benefits the most, if anybody does, from Jackie leaving, because Vanessa and Jackie kind of don't like each other. Vanessa knows that Jackie doesn't really like her, and I don't think they didn't show this on the show. I don't think they never had any time to show it tonight. But when Vanessa was backdoored on Monday, and about an hour later, she came into the have-not room, and James was wearing this hat, and with Jackie and Meg all there in the chairs, like trying to pretend like they're asleep, and Vanessa's complaining to them. Jackie was so utterly dismissive of Vanessa. It was absolutely fantastic. I mean, she was like, she just kept saying to Vanessa, I know, you forget Becky and I are good friends. Like, she was just a complete bitch to her, and I loved it. So, yeah.
So much for this After Dark crew. They really have just been picked off one by one. This is
I'm hoping this wakes them up, because they did get a little complacent lately. They had 2 HOH wins. Becky was sort of part of them a little bit, not really, but they were sort of trusting her a little bit, and they got a little complacent, just like the Sixth Sense did. So maybe this will wake up James and Meg.
I mean, should the After Dark crew consider maybe turning into bed earlier, considering that they seem to be a bit sluggish on picking up what's going on in the house week after week?
They do seem a little bit they sleep a lot. I frequently see them sleeping on the feeds when other people are chatting.
Oh, so maybe
like,
it's too much sleeping.
Yes, too much
sleeping. They stayed up too late.
Yes.
All right, one last question tonight. This is from Mr. Epic. In a double eviction or in general, what's the better move? Nominate your target up front or backdoor them? Ian?
Totally situational, right? I mean, if it's someone like Frank, and here, I'll give you the pro tip. Ask if they tell you, if they're like put on athletic dress, expect to play a very physical game. If they say wear whatever you want, don't expect that. Expect a puzzle, something like that. So if you're trying to get out, you're Frank, you're Becky, and they say put on your athletic gear, boys and girls, well then maybe backdoor is the right move. But if you're trying to get out, me or something like that, and then they say put on your athletic gear, well, why don't you just put me up in the first place?
Okay. Sounds good. Brent, any dissension on that?
No, I totally agree with Ian. You don't necessarily want to put up your target right away, because you may not, A, be able to get them out, and B, have the votes to get them out. So unless you've got both, I wouldn't put them up right away if they're an athletic person and you're going to play an athletic competition.
All right, so here's what's coming up on the podcast in the next couple days. In the morning, I'm going to speak with Alex Kidwell and talk about what broke overnight on the Big Brother Live feeds. I'll have that podcast up for you guys around Friday afternoon on the East Coast, in the morning for those of you guys on the West Coast. I recorded a Last Comic Standing update for Week 4 with Mike Bloom. That's coming up as well. Sunday night, we'll be back live. Shelley Moore, the original Big Brother Shelley, will join us this Sunday night. And, Brett, is it official? Do we say the Shelley that doesn't suck officially at this point?
Oh, I think that was clear like 5 weeks ago, Rob.
Yeah. Always a good show when we talk to Shelley Moore. That show is coming up this Sunday. Working on a good show also for this Wednesday coming up. And last night we did a great show with Eric Stein. People said it's one of the best of the season so far with Eric. So all that's coming up. Also, Big Brother Happy Hour with Jordan Parhar. He has The Shield tomorrow, Ian.
Well, it should be pretty good. I can't wait. I'm going to have to listen to that Eric podcast, though, for sure.
Yeah. Ian, are you considering playing hooky from work tomorrow to watch The Shield on Big Brother Happy Hour?
Well, I mean, if I were to say I was planning on it, then I'd automatically fail at doing so. So
you're considering it. You're thinking about it.
I mean, the thought has crossed my mind, Rob.
All right, well, check that out at robisawebsite.com. That show is actually live. You'll probably be home from work by then. 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific to watch Jordan Parhar on Big Brother Happy Hour.
7 p.m., yeah, I better be home from work tomorrow.
Better be. You have to stay after school. All right, Brent, any ideas about what's the biggest thing you want to know from Jackie in our exit interview questions?
I want to know how close did she think that Vanessa, and I'm not sure they'll let this go, but how close does she think that Vanessa was to the Oz twins? I think that's a neutral enough
It's
question.
a fair question.
It's kind of a leading question, though. I don't know if they'll allow it, but yeah, I'd like to know, because it does seem like on the live feeds that they don't, like Meg especially has been the voice of dissension, saying that, you know, oh, she's not really with them, she doesn't control them, and she kind of does. So who knows?
We'll see. Ian, you got a hashtag for this episode?
Let's see. There's probably a really good one.
Okay.
Did we say Hot Girl Armageddon during the podcast, or was that
That's
before?
a lot of characters. I don't know if anyone's going to be able to spell that.
All right, fair enough.
All right. I think you said that before we started the podcast.
Oh, whoops.
Yeah, right.
All right. So we'll wait for one from the chat room. All right.
By the way, if you're going to do the questions and send us the Twitter questions on Twitter, make sure that you get them in by, like, say, midnight tonight so that we can get them out to Rob.
Okay. So follow Brent on Twitter. He's at @1LuckyGay, and of course Ian is at @2LaneTerry. Eric Stein is not on Twitter for anybody that's asking. Not yet. But Ian, we're working on it.
Yeah, we've been working on it for what, like 5 years now?
Well, we made a lot of progress last night on the podcast, but then somebody had a Twitter account that seemed to be impersonating Eric Stein.
No.
Eric Stein was very upset, and he said, "See, this is why I can't go on Twitter, because already people are impersonating me." And then we were able to correct the error, and he felt better then.
Fair enough.
But it's a fragile psyche already that we're dealing with.
Sure, absolutely.
So we're trying to get it. We want to have people don't impersonate Eric Stein on Twitter. It's hurting the chances of getting him on Twitter. All right.
Yes.
All right. So what do we got? We got hashtag whatever, hashtag accidental HOH.
What do you want?
Yeah, I like that. Hashtag what do you want?
Hashtag what do you want? All right, everybody. Have a great night. Thanks again to everybody who's supporting the podcast as one of the Rob as a Podcast patrons. Greatly appreciated. And as always, we'll be back next time. Take care, everybody.